Welcome, Elliot of Zoodealio. You're flying solo with me today.
I am, Rick. But hey, sometimes Jason and Kayla are out today. But of course, as always, I'm happy to be here with you and chop it up as usual.
Yeah, it's fun. I really look forward to my Mondays. So I sent you guys a message and I said, hey, let's talk about data centers because
Yeah.
Chandler just went on an application to put in a huge data center. I'm going to show you where they wanted to do it on the map here. This here's Ocotillo.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to put that thing right here. Now, the big Intel plant is right here.
Right.
And then this above here is called the price corridor, where there's all kinds of stuff going on, including
tons
data centers.
Yep.
So why did they squish this one? Well, I guess there was some real concern by the community. They're saying that, according to one city council member, they're saying, now this was a $2.5 billion data center, supposed to be 7 football fields long.
Yep.
They said they're already hearing humming coming from the other data centers constantly. And there's also concern about water and electricity. They don't want to see their rates go up. They don't want to see these data centers. Data centers use a lot of water. I don't know if they use it like Intel does. Intel borrows the water, uses it, filters it, puts it back. So I'm not too data center educated. So what are your initial thoughts on this of them saying no?
Well, initially it surprises me just because, again, you're talking about pouring $2.5 billion of opportunity, in the community. And I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that, well, first of all, I think I want to take a look at the land in that area. I personally, that's just around the corner from my house. So I know that area very, very well. And not only, you got to consider that the reservation is not too far from there. So there's a ton of open space as you go further south there. But I know as you're talking about pushing just, a little to the east is probably where those homeowners are potentially complaining. So, I wonder if there's going to be a proposal to solve these particular problems. Maybe I would hope that it's a temporary rejection because, hey, solve the noise issue. Is that like a more of an insulation of the building, which may require more custom construction. And then also, like you said, the solution to water, right? And I know Intel, like you said, they have all kinds of water retention places where they draw and siphon the water from different places and ship it to cool the wafer creation that they do there in Intel. So I wonder if they'll come up with some kind of proposal or a counter proposal to say, hey, solve these particular problems, and then we can move the project forward.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I'm looking at this whole data center explosion. And the first thing that comes to mind is, well, how many jobs does that create? Well, it creates a lot of jobs, hundreds of jobs when they build it. But after that, some of these places only have 50 people working in them.
That is, so yeah, you're talking about, over 400,000 square feet of facility there. You're right. From what I saw, it looked like it was actually going to be 1,000 jobs that it would create. 1,000+ jobs that it would create for the construction of the facility. But yeah, what happens after the fact? And you're right, even though it's massive, they only have, like you said, 50-ish employees that are driving around in their golf carts, managing, the different server racks and whatnot down these massive buildings.
Yeah. So they don't create, when you look at, like a UPS warehouse or an Amazon warehouse, and they've got hundreds and hundreds of employees, and you go by this data center that's even bigger than that, and there's 50 people in the building. and it's not 50 people at one time either. It's, they're doing their shifts. But the other, and I read a comment by, I don't know if it was a CEO of Yahoo Finance or something, but it kind of stuck in my mind. He raised the question about artificial intelligence and said, what's the revenue? In other words, we're spending 2.5 billion, 5 billion, putting in these big data centers, which after 5 years, you're going to have to spend it again because everything is now obsolete. You're going to need new chips, new servers. Where's the revenue? What are we selling? There is obviously some great artificial intelligence when it comes to medical, products that can come out of this and revenue generating. But you think of just ChatGPT in and of itself, that's more like a toy.
Oh, yeah.
Charge you $20 a month, but
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the
Depending on the
product
level.
is. Where do they? I'm going to spend $5 billion. How do I recoup that?
Yeah, what does it actually mean holistically to now and really the future, right? I mean, that's a great point. Where are you trading the tomorrow for the today? And I think that so many times decisions are made like that. And so in this situation, yeah, it's very interesting. What is going to be the return? And you're right, they're having to constantly turn over the server racks essentially to keep them updated. I mean, the building may warehouse it, but yeah, I wonder what that actual the actual proposal of it looks like, right? From an actual income revenue to the municipality.
Yeah, and that's what this guy was questioning. He goes, is this going to implode? He said, if they finally start looking at the math and determine that the revenue is not at all going to match the investment, he said this will be one of the worst bubbles we've ever seen. Kind of a frightening thought. But I'm trying to think, what do I buy that's AI generated that will improve my life? And I gotta have it, and it's not there yet.
I don't think it's there yet, but it's fast approaching, especially when you're talking about like, the AI, the knowledge base, the neural network, all of those things that are there. I mean, it's going to be fast approach where people will be using it, and more than likely not even knowing that they're using it, right? Like in one of my thesis, obviously, that, to kick off Elon Musk here is, Optimus, right? That he projects that it's going to become mainstream within the next 5 years, meaning having a robot inside your house, having Optimus be very, very affordable, and then from there, what would that look like for your robot to have access to that particular AI, knowledge base that you could give it to, right? Like you'll have programs or AI, agents essentially that it would be able to access to do certain things for you. And when you do that, I mean, yeah, then it becomes a very tangible reality versus, ChatGPT, most people now using it, as the new Google, where obviously it's far more sophisticated than that. And, like you said, very toy based where we're expanding our knowledge with it. But the reality of it is I think in my personal opinion, and I mean, obviously being in the tech sector, as we expand, this is going to go from, like you said, a toy, a nice to have, to being pertinent and just how we run and conduct life. But again, that's not tomorrow. I think it's fast approaching, and I think a lot of that is still to be determined.
I had an email forwarded to me by an agent, and it was this realtor that was talking about how ChatGPT is going to be the new home search portal. And he was going through and talking about it and talking about how you can enter into this conversation for house hunting and what it does. And it starts to learn about what you want, and you can feed it and you can get it, and you'll be competing against, Zillow. And I just shook my head and I said, no. I mean, I gravitate towards new tech all the time. I mean, I may be an old fart, but I like new stuff. And
yeah, you do.
So I'm looking at this stuff thinking, here's real estate online. It's photos and presentation first. I'm not going to search for a home if I have to break into a digital conversation over time for it to learn what I want, when I already know what I want, and I can just click on the pictures, and I can scroll around and I can search neighborhoods. I just didn't see the merit in his argument. Like, boy, if you don't get on board with this, on SEO, you'll be lost. The agents that are using ChatGPT will be found. I go, no, they won't. I don't see ChatGPT being my go-to source for finding my next home.
Yeah, I think that again, that is so new, that it's not overly relative yet. I mean, I know we're both aware that, ChatGPT now has access to full Zillow. Right. And so I think that, yes, it could look like a world where like he, in his, what he was sharing, where there was a portal to where you could say, hey, here's my parameters, here's my income level, here's what I'm looking for, here's the pros and cons. Please go out and do keep me updated, based on these particular search parameters. Here's the pros, here's the cons, et cetera. Right. So to me, it can be a way more sophisticated portal than currently exists, to where obviously with image recognition, it now has the ability to comb through those photos where you're saying, hey, I want a great big, family room with 12-foot ceilings, and a big open slider that looks, in the backyard, right? So like it can now do more of those sophisticated types of searches, to where I think that you're right. Most people are doing that through scrolling photos right now. They're doing that themselves. But I think that's why a lot of people call it house porn, right? There's so many people we know. That's why Zillow has 300 million visitors every single month. That, there's not 300 million transactions, obviously, every month. There's only roughly 4 million transactions, as we know that it's going to happen in 2025, right? Less than that. So the reason why I'm bringing all of that up is I still think that there's a lot of time that people enjoy looking at photos. And that's the part that, not only do they enjoy it, right? They do it almost kind of like as a hobby to see what's going on out there. And I don't think we're going to extinguish that anytime soon. So yes, there is a statement to where a more advanced portal can operate. But I think, again, that's going to be such a niche consumer for a while.
Yeah. And I think I can see it clearly coming, like with the GPT and Zillow model. It says you're out driving around and you're in this neighborhood and you go, dude, this is really nice. How many 4-bedroom homes are available in this neighborhood within 2 miles?
Sure.
And then boom, up it comes. They go, oh, that's neat. Okay, what have you got under 500,000? And what have you? And now you can add to it, and you can talk to it, and it'll start throwing these things in front of you. That has legs, in my opinion. But I think
100%.
Typing and talking and searching that way, no.
Yeah, I'm with you to the T on that one. I think that these assistants are going to look a lot different, and it's going to be almost kind of like human to human interaction, to where you're going to be able to walk a property and ask the AI assistant, real-time information about the specific property, about the school zones, about, what's the school's rating? Hey, what's the walk score? I mean, and I know a lot of that stuff is very accessible right now, but think about it from a consulting standpoint, like an experienced agent can give you. And I think that that is what a lot of the future could look like, right? Just like I have a thesis that I think that we already saw it happen in the last push, where you had, who was it, Lennar, that basically removed their sales agents out of their model homes, right? And you could get a QR code, or excuse me, not a QR code, a code sent to you, and you could go tour the property yourself, and which was great. And they tried to put up these little signs in here where you could scan and, get data points, et cetera, about the property as you were walking it yourself and doing a self tour. I could definitely see a world where that gets to the next level, and the AI agent, through a mapping system, not only guides you through the property, but it does it in a non-prompted experience, to where you're just walking through the property, and it will automatically tell you as if an agent was showing you the property. So I think that things like that could absolutely happen. And then I think exactly what you were talking about a second ago, to where, hey, I like this neighborhood, or I love this neighborhood. This house I just looked at doesn't meet my needs. Here's my needs. What does that look like? And I think, again, that could be more of a self-prompted AI doing that, to engage itself into the conversation, to better serve and support that looker or home shopper.
Well, I'm using AI right now for zip code market reports, for somebody can request it. And so what I've been doing is putting in these links on my channel here, like that QR code up there. Actually, it's up there. And people can click on it, request a zip code market report. Well, I keep refining it constantly. And what I do is I have a prompt that I build, and I put the prompt in ChatGPT. I was using Gamma, but I was finding out that the data was not accurate. So I put it into ChatGPT, and then I tell it what it is that I want to see. In other words, I want to see months of supply. I want to see appreciation. I want to see median price, average price, school district information, crime statistics, and then mortgage rate outlook. And I would like you to use the following sources. And I keep adding to the sources. So I'll go Cromford Report, because that gets you ultra local, Zillow,
Right.
Redfin. I just go on. And it's like every week I'm adding to this prompt, and I'm getting better and better and more detailed reports. It used to be about 6 pages. Now it's about 9 or 10. And so I send you the link, you pull it up, and it's just this huge detailed report. But I use ChatGPT to build out the outline for the report. Then I go to another AI agent called Gamma, which is a presentation builder. And I
now
put
it
in
builds it for
that
you.
verbiage, and it formats it into a really cool, eye-appealing report. And so in this ChatGPT, it says right there, it took me 17 seconds to do, that would probably take the majority of my day for me to pull up.
Oh yeah. Not only that, you would have to build all those templates and plug in the information, right? There's a lot of resources, as you know, agents have paid for years with HomeSnap, et cetera, that this is a far superior report.
Now, as far as the transaction goes and AI and how it advances, that remains to be seen. So you look at this and go, okay, will data centers be a part of that? That companies will be selling these programs to real estate brokerages, and there's a source of income now for that data center. So the data center has income from all kinds of different industries and sources, and that just remains, like I said, remains to be seen. It's not going to happen on the backs of $20 a month on ChatGPT, and it keeps changing. We're at the ChatGPT 6 now.
Yep.
And
it's six turbo, right? That there's, that's actually an interesting thought as this continues to expand, right? Like being able to access the server to run said knowledge base, which I know happens on a certain amount. But imagine if it was like a pay as you go kind of operation, right? From some of these where they can scale up the server need based on the demand, and now that justifies that revenue model based on the expansion that's happening. So yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Well, we're very lucky in our market that we have this service called the Cromford Market Report, which is developed by Michael Orr. He was an Oxford mathematician, and what he built for us for agents to use is brilliant. It's got all these choices, all these drop downs. You can just get drunk with data. But he's also, I think, brilliant enough to start matching this with AI, because there's probably a lot of manual input that comes in there. And so I'm sure that he's working behind the scenes right now to figure out how to be a lot quicker and pull that data without having, I think it's his son that's doing the data right now. And you're pulling everything from the MLS and you're aggregating it and double checking it and stuff. And I'm sure for a guy like him, artificial intelligence is going to be a big part of that report. And so that'll streamline it for him. And then you and I were talking just a few weeks ago about blockchain technology and title insurance. Will we need it? And I don't think we will.
Yeah, I mean, we all know if it gets on the blockchain, right? It's forever there per that particular hash that gets created in that particular blockchain, and that can be instantly accessed by anybody, right? Like we'll see, right? Because to me, that's almost like a cotton and hemp kind of conversation, to where you're talking about these title plants, and obviously hemp being a superior product, but cotton, based on its ability, it was able to kind of extinguish the hemp rising, to where now these title plants and all the searching and everything else that they're doing, right? Maybe they'll adopt that technology, that if they're smart, they should. So like Old Republic, First American, and Fidelity, right? The kingpins in that particular space, they would be smart to take on this type of technology to be able to store this information. Not to mention, think about all of the data warehouses that they have to have. There's a lot of them that they still run that stuff on paper, or they'll I know that they did it a couple years ago. I remember when they were trying to put everything and get it on some type of like digital environment to be able to look it up. But I don't know what the success was on that. I know that, like I said, to the best of my knowledge, they still actually have, to this day in 2025, still have some warehouses that are actual like paper plans.
Oh boy.
I know, it's pretty wild, right?
You know, we had one of our clients, he just had this great idea. He's out with Jessica looking at homes. And he says, yeah, I think I'd like to write an offer on this. She goes, okay, I got a few things to do. When I get home, I'll write the offer, because I'm not good at writing an offer on an iPad. I know I'll miss things. And he said, you know what you need? You need a driver. She goes, a driver? He goes, yeah, you need to hire a driver, and then you need a van that has an office in the back. And he goes, and you can be taking phone calls, you know, satellite technology. You can be connected to the internet, and we can go look at a house, and you had a driver that took you there. And when we're going to the next spot, you can be looking up the numbers, because now when she's out showing homes, and if she wants some real detail on the neighborhood, she sends me a text. Rick, pull me the following stats for this neighborhood. So I'll be here, and I'll say, okay, give me 5 minutes. And I pull everything up, send her a text. So I'm her data person. Same with 2 other agents that I work with. And he's saying you could have a driver. And then this couple that we had dinner with Saturday night said, no, you'll have a driverless car. And you can be in the back.
Definitely coming.
So you got a Waymo van, and you can be in the back with all this technology to be able to build anything that you want. Contracts are going to be a lot easier to write. They're going to be a lot quicker. You can speak it into the phone and have it come out. You know, what price do you want? What terms do you want? And have it populate the form. And we're getting there. You can already take a purchase contract right now, upload it to ChatGPT and say, summarize for me. And it'll put it on one page and say, here's what's in here. So there's a lot of excitement coming, I think, that's going to make us more available to get in front of people instead of being stuck behind the screen.